Okay, so I am underneath the back of my fifth wheel and just wanted to take a look at what it's like to remove some of these panels. I see they put a piece of wood here to kind of attach some of the bottom of the panels to, but the way you need to attach the panels would almost dictate that that wood would be very difficult to actually use, simply because you want this panel to overlap this panel so wind doesn't catch it and eventually pull it down. And to actually get this all back in place is rather difficult. So I got to figure out what to do here. Now I could always attach it to this, which is probably the better way to do it. But this is what it looks like, and there's no batted insulation under here. Now, the interesting thing that they do here that's different from some manufacturers is the floor is insulated. So there's foam insulation inside of that floor, which kind of negates some of the need to have insulation in the underbelly right here. But what are your thoughts? But yeah, I'm trying to figure out specifically where to attach everything to so it's easier to access. You can see the freshwater holding tank in there. It's just a hair behind the actual axles. That's interesting. This is what it looks like. A 12-inch I-beam frame. You can see it has the stamped cross members. A lot easier to run your wires around without possibly chafing them. Alright, so you guys may recall that I had a bit of a furnace related issue. Whenever I would turn the power disconnect back onto the RV, my furnace fan would kick on. And this didn't happen all the time. This was kind of an intermittent issue. So I've opened up the outside of the furnace so you can see what it looks like inside. I have my power button here, circuit board right here, and I was gonna see if there could have been anything jammed in here, if water could have potentially gotten on this board, which it potentially could have, because, you know, it's been a day or two since the last rain we've had, and I suppose some type of moisture could have gotten on this circuit board. I have the power turned on right now, and the furnace did not kick on, so my gut is telling me it has something to do with the actual thermostat maybe, but again, even with the thermostat off, this would continue to run. So I have a feeling potentially we have a bad board. I don't know for sure. I know that during COVID, a lot of people made the claim that RV components weren't being manufactured to the same standards that they might have been before then. So the manufacturer of this itself may have, you know, done something or may have done something incorrectly, and maybe something happened to the board. But I don't see anything going on in here. I'm trying to figure where there could be an issue. Doesn't look like there's any corrosion or any type of a buildup on the board. And the wood under here seems dry, and there doesn't seem to be any areas where water pooled up. Now, something to keep in mind is this isn't what I would consider to be a perfect seal right around the edge here. And because of that, the rain that we had when we started having the issues was a very, very torrential downpour. I'm talking like 11 inches of rain, and that blowing rain could have somehow gotten in here, and maybe, you know, a drop of water landed on the board. Not exactly sure. I don't see a problem. What I might do is just flip this off, because we probably down here in South Texas will never use this, and if we do use it, it would be under very rare circumstances where it got extremely cold, and I could always come back in here and flip this back on. But until we get a technician or someone to take a look at this further, I'm just going to keep it off, because there's no reason for this to turn on. But yeah, this is what it looks like inside of your furnace, in case you're ever wondering. You have your blower motor right here, so this spins, and your off reset button right here. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Kind of reevaluating something that I had done to the fifth wheel, and it's been bugging me for a while, and I want your feedback, because I want to know if you think I should do something I'm thinking about doing. So you probably recall where we added the bumper extensions. We pulled the bumper back a little bit so I could use this really cool rack. And the reason why we had this rack added is because it's going to be used to carry bikes whenever we go out camping. Well, the problem that we dealt with here is that because of the fact that Coachman sets the bumper in so close and they put the 50 amp connection here, we don't really have the ability to put this in its normal configuration. Anyways, we got it installed, we got it working, but there are some things that I might have done differently if I had thought it through a little bit more. Let me give you an example. Okay, so you guys can see that we have a 2-inch receiver right here, and that is for a luggage tray. It's not designed to haul a vehicle, right? It's rated at, I think, 300 pounds, and it's just made for like a storage tray that you might have on the back. But the question I had to then ask myself after we kind of reinstalled this is, why do we need that if we have this? Because you can't use them both at the same time, right? You could use one or the other. And the reason why I didn't just want to use a bicycle holder inside of this is because 99% of them are not rated to be used on fifth wheels whenever you're towing, because of the amount of leverage and force that it applies towards the back, and the bike rack itself isn't rated. There are a few of them that are, but I either don't like how they cradle the bike, or they're very hard to get, and it kind of increases the likelihood that you could damage your bikes, only because this receiver hangs down about 3.5 inches lower than the back bumper. So when we have it in here, we're only, shoot, the RV's not quite level, but we're only maybe, I'm gonna guess, about 15 inches or less off the ground, which means if we take a hill or an incline and these rollers have to come into play, well, anything plugged into the back of that might also come into play, and I don't want that to hit the ground. So I'm thinking of just removing that entire assembly, as well as the wings right here that hold it in place. So that's kind of my thought pattern right now, because if you notice, we have the rollers right here, and they hang down about 4 inches, maybe a little bit more, but just right below the wing right here, which is designed, of course, so these don't hit the ground in the event that you are, entering or exiting an area where this would get too low to the ground normally because of this extremely long overhang. Now, if I cut this off and I cut these off, it will, in reality, give me an additional 4 inches of clearance. Or I could even relocate these right up here, or in this general area. That way it'll still come into play if I get into that extreme angle, but it won't actually come into play, where it might back here. So definitely thinking about it, thinking about cutting this whole structure right here off. Wouldn't take very long. I think it's welded in 3 places on each side, maybe across the back too. No, it just looks like those 3 places on each side, and then this is welded on each side as well. I don't know if it's welded on the back here, but yeah, what are your thoughts? Should I go ahead and just remove all that? Because it's kind of redundant, right? Once you have this, why do you need that? And it just adds more bulk, it adds more weight, and it hangs down off the bottom a little bit more than I like. Stand back here a little bit. So yeah, the goal here is to figure out what the plan is with that. Anyways, definitely leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Should I remove that or should I keep it on there?